Hello, welcome to my channel, KD Gist and Gospel, where we give you latest happenings around the world on politics, sports, entertainment, lifestyle, food, and what have you. This is your boy KD Gist Papa coming to you today. We're looking at the process of voting and electing a new pope as the conclave will open on Wednesday. College of Cardinals are gathering at Vatican City to commence the process. Let us look critically into how this process is being done and who is most likely to be the favorite candidate among all these candidates. Cardinals at a crossroads, while some want to continue Francis's reforms, others want a different kind of pope. The pontificate of Pope Francis probably shook the Catholic Church. His relentless 12 years papacy, with his focus on a poor church for the poor, called on Catholicism to leave its comfort zone and pitch its tent among the poorest communities. Francis opened discussions on topics that were once viewed off limits, such as the role of women. He welcomed LGBTQ Catholics as children of God and opened the door for remarried divorcee to receive communion. He also generated attention with his strong critiques of economic injustice and call for protection of environment. Throughout his papacy, however, Francis faced fierce resistance from small but mighty conservative Catholic groups and a certain amount of indifference and silent resistance from bishops in the hierarchy. Now, as 133 voting members of the College of Cardinals prepare for the conclave, the closed door process to elect Francis's successor, they face a weighty choice: build on the late Pope's reforms and vision, or slow things down and embark on a course correction. CNN spoke to multiple cardinals and other church sources for this article, why some cardinals would prefer a safer option who focuses on unity. One who worked closely with Francis said, such a choice will be the keys of the dead for the church. Those who will process into the Sistine Chapel on Wednesday to begin the process to elect a new pope could not have failed to notice the outpouring of affection for Francis after he died. When Cardinal Giovanni Battista, the Dean of the College of Cardinals, talked warmly about Francis's vision for the church as he delivered the homily at Francis's funeral, the crowd gathered in St. Peter's Square repeatedly applauded. And in Easter Timor, which Francis visited in 2024, around 300 people attended a mass for the late Pope on the same day as the day of his funeral. All of this has led to one retired cardinal to urge his conference to take note. The people of God have already voted at the funerals and called for continuity with Francis. Cardinal Walter Casper, 92, a theological advisor to the late Pope, told Repubblica, an Italian newspaper. In other words, read the room. Francis's supporters say that only a pope willing to continue what the late pontiff started will do so. But the politics of a papal election process are subtle. Anyone overtly campaigning to be pope immediately disqualifies himself, and the cardinals must vote according to what they discern to be the will of the God. Still, that doesn't mean simply sitting in their rooms and praying for divine inspiration on how to vote. Each morning during the pre-conclave period, the cardinals meet in the Pope's Sixth Synod Hall for general congregation. Then in the evenings, they often continue the discussion over a plate of pasta and a glass of wine, with several seen eating in trantoriums in the Bago Pio, a village like Porta near the Vatican. A fourth line is already emerging. Some cardinals want the next pope to follow firmly in Francis's footsteps and focus on the diversity of the universal church, whose axis has shifted away from Europe and from the West. Others are calling on the next pope to emphasize unity, code for a more predictable, steady as she goes approach. Austin Irving, a Papal photographer and a Catholic commentator, puts the two positions this way. The first, diversity, sees Francis as the first pope of a new era in the Catholic Church, showing us how to evangelize today and how to hold together our differences in a fruitful way, he explained. The second, unity, sees the Francis era as a disruption, an interruption that now needs to be reined back by a return to a greater uniformity. Those pushing the unity line include some of the most vociferous critics of the late Pope, such as Cardinal Gatamula, the Vatican's former doctrine chief who Francis replaced in 2017, characterizing the last pontificate as a divisive authoritarian. He recently told the New York Times, all dictators are dividing. Most cardinals will not share Muller's characterization, and cardinals have repeatedly expressed appreciation for Francis's concern for those at the margins and his ability to connect with people. But a number of them rallying around the unity slogan and have plenty of criticism of the last papacy, including his decision to embark on a major multi-year reform process, the Synod, that has opened questions about women's leadership and how power is exercised in the church. Some also didn't like Francis's full throttle critiques of priests who likes to wear elaborate vestments or his offering or blessing to same-sex couples, which has been rejected by some bishops in Africa. The feeling among the unity group, which has the support of some retired cardinals, is that the next pope needs less of the disruptive style of Francis. The Pope's first duty is to preserve and deepen the unity of the Church, that is, the new Pope to be elected. Cardinal Vincent Nicholas, Archbishop of Westminster in London, told CNN. Nicholas praised Francis' pastoral gestures, although added, there probably is a balancing up to do, but that is not primarily to do with arguments or teaching or doctrine. The leading unity candidate, it will appear, is Cardinal Piero Paroloni, the Holy See Secretary of State. He will not represent an obvious break with Francis, but his style will be very different. Parolin is a mild-mannered, thoughtful Italian prelate who oversees the Vatican's diplomacy. He has included a provisional agreement with China over the appointment of bishops. But Parolin's skeptics points to his lack of experience working at the church grassroots and his flat delivery of homily at a mass for around 200,000 young people in St. Peter's Square the day after Francis's funeral. As he read from his notes, the cardinal seemed unable to engage the congregation, in stark contrast to Francis, who frequently spoke off the court and who often engage in a back and forth with the young people. Parolin has support among the large network of Holy See diplomats of what he is a member. CNN's Vatican analyst is Elizabeth Pique, who is also a correspondent for La Nikon in Argentina, says retired Italian cardinal and a former diplomat, Baniamino Stella, 83, is considered a strong supporter of Parolin. He is reported to have stunned cardinals on April 30 with an attack on the late Pope's moves to give lay people governance roles in the church, saying Francis was wrong to separate ordination as a priest or bishop from the power of the church governance. Francis had appointed the first woman to lead Vatican offices and sought to open more lay leadership roles. Stella's attack was surprising because he had been a trusted collaborator of Francis. Others see the unity argument as superficial attractive, but having the wrong focus. One of those is Cardinal Michael Stelzny, who worked closely with Pope Francis and has led the Vatican Office for Human Development. He said that unity, while essential, cannot be a program or a policy. The terrible danger is if you make this your obsession and if you try to promote unity as your primary objective, you end up with uniformity, he said. And this is exactly what we don't need. We spent decades now trying to learn to get beyond uniformity to a true Catholicism, a true pluralism. Chesney added, it is interesting The words unity and uniformity are so close, but the difference is huge. I think one of it is the kiss of death, and the one is life, abundant life. I think one is the kiss of death, and the other is life and abundant life. Will of the people. What do we think of the will of the people in this regard? Each night during the 9 official days of mourning that follow the death of a pope, a cardinal presides at a mass and has an opportunity to reflect on Francis's pontificate. It's harder for candidates to be openly critic of the late pontiff, while others among them are asking in these masses how the cardinals can build on what Francis started. I think of I think of the multiple reform process of the church lives initiated by Pope Francis, which extend beyond religious affiliation. Cardinal Bazzese Rein, the vicar of Rome, said in a homily last week. People recognize him as a universal pastor. Those people carry concern in their hearts, and I seem to discern in them a question: what will become of the processes that have begun? That need to continue the reforms begun by Francis could favor a candidate such as Cardinal Mario Grech, who leads the Synod office and which has showcased the diversity of the Church. The reform minded German Cardinal Reinhard Marx has been among those arguing for a pope who continues in the line of Francis, as has Cardinal Jean Claude Hollerich of Luxembourg, who played a leading role in the Synod. A diversity Candidates could come from Asia or Africa or be closely connected to the church's frontline mission. In this vein, there is some talk of Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle of the Philippines and Sarah of Africa, but they are not the only possibilities. Outcome hard to predict, isn't it? The group of candidates chosen Francis's successor is a diverse body drawn from virtually every corner of the globe. During his pontificate, Francis dramatically reshaped the body of cardinals, making appointments to countries that had never had a cardinal before. But it means that many of them don't know each other as well. And during this discussion in the Pope's Sixth Synod Hall, the cardinals have been wearing name badges. The intense media interest also seemed to have startled cardinals unused to being swarmed by groups of reporters and cameras when they enter or leave the Vatican. It is much harder to predict how such a diverse body is going to vote. However, it seems the cardinals from the peripherals, who represent the shift in the Catholic Church axis away from Europe, largely share the pontiff's vision and are primarily focused on the next pope's response to the crisis facing the globe. Charles Bow, the first cardinal from Yama, who was appointed by Francis in 2015 and wants to see continuity with Francis's reform, told CNN in an email that the next pope must pursue peace without pause and be a voice of moral authority, which calls humanity back from the edge of destruction. Religions must unite in a common cause to save humanity, he said. The the world, urgently needs a new breath of hope, a synodal journey that chooses life over death, hope over despair. The next pope must be that breath. The cardinals entering the Sistine Chapel next week for conclave are not just to casting their vote for a new pope, but making a critical decision that will impact the church for years to come. Do you think in this era we probably will have a black African pope to emerge as the next pope to lead the church to the next decades? What do you think? Kindly comment in the comment section and let's take this discussion further. Share your thoughts, share this page, share this link, like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel KDGs and Boss Corner so that when else we post our video, you get notified and we will discuss furthermore. Thank you. Signing out.